Just making sure the audio is coming through. Yeah,
Hello.
all right, we're good.
Before we dive into our rad new ep, we want to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we record, the Wurundjeri people. We pay our respects to elders past and present, and to the ongoing living culture of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people. What's up, and welcome to the Girls Gotta Work podcast, where we share the rad, the bad, and the mad reality of running a business. I'm Hayleigh, a recovering awkward person.
And I'm Jordan, and I'm a total hot mess.
And we're living proof that you can be a chaotic 20-something and still be a successful business owner. This week, we'll be talking about our businesses and why we started the pod. George, tell me how your week was. Highs, lows, tell me everything.
Yikes.
Really?
I was going to say, if we want to talk about our week, I think we should start with the last, what time is it? The last few hours we've had trying to record the podcast. So, you know, we're not particularly practiced at this yet, and it has been a total shit show. I have delved into total lunacy. I am peak hot mess right now, and that's actually pretty reflective of how my week has gone. I feel like I get one step ahead on one task, and then like 3 steps behind on every other task that I've got. So my to-do list is a little bit hectic, and you better believe I'll be having a glass of wine on a Friday night to like just get over it.
You are not alone, girl. I am losing the plot over how many tech issues we've had just recording this one episode, but all worth it. So what has been the best part of your week?
The best part of my week? Oh, I have not prepared this. If we're talking about the raddest part of my week, I think we can definitely talk about I've onboarded some new clients this week.
Ooh.
So I've had some clients who I have admired for such a long time. You know, I followed Instagram. I've been, so just admirable. In awe. In awe of them for such a long time. And yeah, they came to me and said, hey, like, I need some help with my socials. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so excited.
Manifest that.
Yeah, so I have onboarded those guys, and yeah, apart from that, it's just been pure chaos. But Hayleigh, tell me, how's your week?
I think the raddest thing that's happened this week is I've been meeting with a business coach, and I've been so excited. I'm like really starting to dream big about Hayleigh Helper and what that looks like, and I'm going to tell you guys more about it in future eps, and also a bit of in this episode as well.
That's so exciting.
Super exciting. Scary as all hell, but I'm so excited to move forward.
Yeah, but business growth is scary as all hell. It always is. Yes. And I think we're going to talk about a lot in today's episode because we're talking all about how we started our own businesses and how it led to the podcast. So shall we dive in?
Let's do it.
Today's episode is all about how we started our own businesses and how it led us to start this podcast and bring you, a rad community where we can all feel a little bit less alone in business because, I mean, speak for myself at least, I'm a total hot mess, and I know there are other people out there who, need to know that it's okay to be a hot mess and still be a successful business owner. So we're going to start with Hayleigh's story. So I would love to ask you, why did you start your business?
Oh, that's such a good question. It's kind of layered. So when I was little, I never knew like what I wanted to be when I grew up. And even now as a 20-something, sometimes I still don't know, but I've always had a bit of a side hustle. I always think I've had that entrepreneurial heart and mind, and I didn't have anyone around me that emulated that, so I didn't know how to harness it, what it was, what it meant. I just thought I didn't fit in or I didn't know what I wanted, whereas so many people around me did. But in saying that, I always had a 9-to-5 and I always had a side hustle, so I dabbled in a lot of different things. I used to make cards, I used to do handmade markets.
Cool.
Yeah, graphic design on the side, all that kind of stuff. But in 2020, when we all know the spicy cough arrived to Australia,
the world went to shit.
I got made redundant, and it was really scary. I'd never not had a job before, and was only new to Melbourne, so I didn't have a side hustle yet. But I was dreaming about becoming a virtual assistant for a while before COVID hit. And then COVID hit and I cried for a week. And after I got made redundant, and I cried, and I was like, brushed myself off, picked myself up, and I was like, this is the time to do it. Like, I just didn't know anything else about running a business, like properly full time. And I was like, if I don't try now when I've got all this free time, I'm never going to do it. So I jumped in and created Hayleigh AKA, which is my little baby business. And I'm a virtual assistant, social media manager, and do graphic design as well.
Doing all of the things.
All the things, all the time.
For you, like, how does your personality lend itself well, or maybe it doesn't actually, to running a business? Like, I know there are so many elements that come into running a business, and as you said, you weren't particularly prepared to run your own business full time when you started. So for you, like, how does your personality factor into that? Does it make it easier? Does it make it harder? Like, tell me the things.
I would say both. I've always been creative, and I've always been kind of analytical, I guess. I need like procedures and I need structure, but I also need that freedom to be creative. So in a 9 to 5, I never had found that in a job yet. So being able to do that in my own business and create that freedom for myself and that structure that I need for myself of creativity and, I guess, boring admin stuff, it leans in perfect to that on that side of things. But then also I get really bad decision fatigue. I'm very introverted, so I do like burn out more easily than others. So I do have to learn to balance that a little bit better. So even though my mind and my heart is driven, my body and brain is tired. Yeah. So but learning how to balance that is a really hard one, which I'm still working on. Don't always get it right. Catch me on a Friday for a meeting, I'm dead to the world. So
and I can vouch for this.
But yes, I think my personality, bit of both, yay and nay.
And do you think, I know we've spoken about it a lot in terms of how when you run your own business, like, you can't grow your business without growing as a person. And do you think that, like, you know, with your introvertedness and with all of that, do you think running your own business has pushed you a little bit to create better systems for yourself as well in and out of business?
Most definitely. I had to really look inwards and figure out what was important to me as a person and a business owner, and work on really identify the values and figure out what I could serve for my clients, and figured that out. And then since then, I'm now, after being in my business for almost 2 years, I'm now structuring my week and my days and my clients around what suits my needs better, because that's why we got into business, is so that we could decide those things and do what we want.
And I feel like it's always something we forget. We're like, oh, we've got to make sure we're all like suiting our clients and doing whatever they need, and we forget that, like, to sort of take that step back and think, oh, hold up, I started this business to work for me.
Yeah.
Let's actually make that happen.
What?
And I think, you know, as on this podcast we focus on the rad, the bad, and the mad, I would love to know, over the last few years of you running Hayleigh AKA, what is the rad, the bad, and or the mad of running your business?
Oh, this is such a great question. The rad in my business is getting to help like women-led businesses that are clearly overwhelmed and overworked, and I can just see the drive and the vision they have for their businesses, but the admin and other tasks getting in the way. So coming into their businesses and helping them clear that is probably the raddest thing about running Hayleigh AKA.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
It's my fave. I've touched on this before. Bad is the mindset. I think getting into business, you don't realize how hard it is, and and how much of a mind battle to, you know, fight those kind of like inner demons, inner saboteurs, to really push through that and achieve what you want, like unlocking a part in your brain. So I still struggle with that a lot, and it's something I work on every day, but that's probably the bad part of the business, including like, you know, shitty clients and red flags this and unpaid invoices, but
and taxes.
Oh, of course, taxes. How could I forget? I mean, what? I don't pay those. No, I do.
Well, please don't sue us. Just hiding from the ATO now.
No, I do. Don't come find me. And I think the maddest thing, sometimes I still pinch myself when I check my bank account and people pay me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm still fairly new and I've had some amazing opportunities, but like, yeah, maddest thing is like I send someone an invoice and they pay it.
Yeah.
Like, just the reality that little Hayleigh, who didn't know what she wanted and had this like dream and vision to help people on whatever scale that looked like, now I get to do that wholeheartedly.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Who is she? Oh, she's a business owner. That's right.
Yes. Oh my God, yes.
Yeah, so that's Hayleigh
Hayleigh.
AKA in a nutshell.
And so start of 2020, so 2 years.
Yeah, so 2 years in July, I think, is like when I got made redundant, and then I hit the ground running in like August, September for Hayleigh.
So exciting.
It's been the best.
And now we've just started a second business.
Oh yeah, podcast what?
But we'll get to that later.
So enough about Hayleigh Helper and me, even though I could talk about myself forever. Not really, I'm awkward. So obviously I know heaps about you, Jordan, and Scrunch Social.
So?
Oh, I don't know your favourite colour, but whatever.
I don't know my favourite colour either.
Yes! Winner! So tell the listeners a bit about Jordan and Scrunch Social and how you started your business.
So Scrunch initially started as, and I'm just going to dive straight into Scrunch because you guys will know more about me later. Scrunch definitely started as a creative outlet. So I was initially working in a government social media team, and you know, it was a really great experience. I learned so much about social media and the industry that I was getting into after uni, but my goodness, it was dull.
I can't imagine it was very creative and interesting.
No, and like, you know, my team was great and we got to like make memes and just, like, it was a good introduction to the world.
Yeah.
But I'm super creative and you had so many levels of approvals to go through.
Gross.
And yeah, it is gross because you get stifled at every turn because you might get it up to like, you know, one person might tick it off and the second person might tick it off, but the third is like, oh, I think we're pushing it, and then it needs to go back down the chain of command to you so that you can make the changes. So sort of by the time the end product goes live, you're like,
it's not what you wanted.
It's not what we wanted. Like, it'll do because it's approved and like at least we can post something. But yeah, it wasn't very creative. So I started Scrunch, like we're working from home, COVID. Scrunch is obviously a COVID baby as well. So I started in May 2020 and I just jumped on Instagram, posted an awful logo made in Canva that is horrific.
And by the way, don't come for Jordan.
Yeah.
About the Canva graphics.
Please don't. And please don't scroll back on my Instagram either.
Give me 5 minutes, I'm going to do that.
Oh, yikes. Anyway, moving past that. And then, so I started creating content and so I sort of knew what I was doing, but I was more working with words and copywriting because that has always been something I've loved doing. So I started doing that, and then, believe it or not, people came to me and were like, hey, can you help me out? And I was like, oh my God, I can make extra money from this. Yes, 100%. So I worked with some amazing business owners to start with, doing blogs and social media captions, but mostly blogs. And then I sort of, kept Scrunch going on the side and then went to agency land after my government job. And my knowledge, like, I don't want to say quadrupled, but I don't know.
Like skyrocketed.
Yeah, I was going to say like octupled, but I don't. That's not going to work.
That's way too fancy for this podcast. I don't need that language in my life.
Skyrocketed. My knowledge has skyrocketed, and I got the creativity I needed.
Yeah.
But it was like you said when, you know, you started your own business. It's like I wanted the system set up in a way that worked for me. Like I'm really organized and I like having everything set up a certain way. So the fact that I couldn't do that in agency land was really hard because I wanted to be able to not only have my systems and processes set up in a way that worked for me, I wanted to be able to do out of the box thinking and really put my creative hat on and be like, all right, what are the like fun and creative campaigns that we can do that, yes, like obviously the client has to sign off on it, but you still get to pitch them, you know?
Yeah.
So I sort of did agency land. And then October, November last year, I can't remember, I left agency land to take Scrunch full time.
Woo!
And I did not have a full client portfolio. I sort of was like, you know what, now is a good time to do it. So I just did it. And we are, oh God, I can't do months maths.
Like six-ish
months into it. And yeah, I had my first 10K month in January, which was
amazing.
Yeah,
that's a big milestone.
It is a big milestone. And I was like, oh my God, like you said, people value what I do and people are willing to pay for it. And like there are so many things that I've done in my business, especially since taking it full time, that like I never could have done when it was a side hustle, because I have the time to really invest in cool and creative things like that put me in front of new people that I never would have been put in front of otherwise. Yeah.
So like just hearing a bit of your story was being like, it kind of sounds like you kind of stumbled into business ownership, but is it something that you always wanted to do or thought about or dreamt about, or just the lack of not great jobs kind of pushed you into business ownership?
I think saying I stumbled into it is the perfect way to put it, actually. Stumbled, cried my way into it. I don't know. Yeah, I think I just tripped and fell into biz ownership because, I started it as a creativity project. I just wanted to be able to write and make pretty graphics. Not pretty then, but like pretty now.
Yeah.
But I just
come a long way, girls.
Yeah, thank goodness. And thank goodness to all of my clients for trusting me. But no, I think I definitely tripped and fell into it. But my parents have always run their own businesses.
Yeah, wow. So you had that to look up to and understand.
Yeah. And, you know, anytime I'm stuck, even now on tax, like I still don't fully understand how tax works. So I just call my dad. I'm like, Dad, can you help me? Or, you know, my mum just started another business. Which is amazing. And yeah, so we're sort of in it together as well.
Nice.
So
that's so nice.
Yeah. So, and I think the community as well helps so much. So yeah, I definitely wasn't prepared. I didn't necessarily want to become a business owner because I struggled the most with not being able to switch off. Yeah. And, you know, always thinking, oh, what can I do next? And how can I expand? And, oh, should we start a podcast?
Yes, we should.
Yeah, well, obviously. Just like, we have time to start a podcast. And, yeah, I think I was terrified that not that it wouldn't go well, but, yeah, it's a lot of responsibility. Yeah. And, you know, I'm still a bit of a baby, especially compared to the rest of the business world. So I was like, I don't know if I can do this. And yeah, I think it was never my intention to start a business. Yeah. But now that I'm here nearly 2 years into Scrunch as well, it's like...
Couldn't imagine it any other way.
I
know. My boyfriend jokes when I have really bad days that like, oh, Hayleigh, you could always get like a normal 9 to 5. And I'm like...
Laughs in his face.
Yeah. Like now I'm like, I hate it, but it puts it back into perspective. Like, no. I don't want that.
And seriously, because it makes you think like, all right, if I was back in a normal, in quote marks, a normal job, what would that look like? It would look like waking up at, you know, 7 a.m. every morning, so that to start at 9 a.m., mind you, so that you can have a shower, put makeup on, put non-trackies on.
And hello, commute time. No, thank
you. And especially out of lockdown, like we both are Melbourne gals, so... Oh my God, I used to work in South Melbourne and I live in the eastern suburbs. It would take me an hour to drive like 10-ish Ks.
I know.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, we're very lucky that we both have good spaces to work from home. And I was the same, like I had to catch 2 trains to work every day. And like even if I did drive, there was like no parking at my office building. So I'd have to move my car every 2 hours. And I hated it. Yeah. I mean, it was good because I could listen to more podcasts like this one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hated every second of it. And I couldn't imagine having to commute longer than 5 minutes from the top level of my house to the bottom level of the house where my office is.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine it either. And even, you know, I like going to co-work spaces every now and then. And, you know, even going one day a week, I'm like, oh, maybe I should get a permanent space at a co-work space. Sorry.
Hot desking.
Yeah, hot desking. And then, yeah, it's like I'm set up at home. And I get to wear trackies. Like, if anyone has ever had a meeting with me and I look put together, it's because I've come from, like, a coffee date. Like,
from the waist up, I look good.
Oh, I don't. But that's what you get when you work with Scrunch because...
Yeah.
I don't care.
So other than having to put a bra on and proper pants to go to a normal 9 to 5, what is like another thing that you struggle with being in business or a business owner or running your business?
Another thing I struggle with, there's a few, obviously.
Yeah.
But I think for me, the biggest thing has been the loneliness of running your own business. And, you know, obviously we'll speak about this a lot more because that's sort of the whole reason we started the podcast. But I'm a huge extrovert. I never thought I was an extrovert, but I am a huge extrovert. And I think anyone that meets me will be like, yep. That makes sense.
This is why we're friends, because there's that meme that's like, introverts don't make friends, they just find an extrovert who takes them under their wing. So thanks, Jordan.
I've definitely done that. I have huge wings for all of my introverts to fall under. But yeah, exactly. So I think I really struggled with that because as much as I like working from home and all of that, it's nice being home, you're also home alone all the time. And that's the one thing I loved about being in an office space, like whether it was at my old jobs or in a co-work space, is you get to bounce off people. And that is so much fun. Yeah. So I think for me, it was definitely, I struggle with being lonely. But as we said, like that's the whole reason we started the podcast. It was because, I mean, I think we both felt pretty lonely working from home all the time. And we were like, well, if it can't be just us. Yeah. It can't be just us who are lonely all the time working from home and running their own businesses, and we need people who get it, who we can talk to and be like, hey, I just want to have a glass of wine, I want to whinge about all the things business and not have you judge me.
No judgment here. Judgment-free zone here on the pod.
Exactly. Judgment-free zone. But yeah, I think that definitely is how we came up with the idea for the podcast. And I'd love to throw it to you because I always stumble this just because I laugh anytime I think of this conversation. But that fateful Zoom, our wine and whinge, probably our first one, I think. But
I think so.
I think we were chatting throughout the week just as they're like, it's been a big week or something like that. And we're like, do we just want to jump on, have a glass of wine, have a bit of a whinge about business ownership? And yeah, I would love for you to tell everyone how that initial, half an hour Zoom call turned into a 2-hour Zoom call where we also registered a business name and booked a, podcast consultation with Cass and spent like $250.
In the space of 10 minutes, yeah. I remember it too. So like we jumped on and we were just kind of like reassessing a lot of things, like why are we doing this to ourselves, and like and it kind of like stumbled. We were talking about like our goals and our dreams and like what we want for our businesses to try and hype us back up into having a good week. And I remember I was looking at my like vision board while we were talking, and I was like, one of my dreams would be to start a podcast, and like instantly. And I love this because I think sometimes, or I just know when you meet other dreamers, they like just validate your ideas, and it was instant. Like Jordan, you like said, let's fucking do it. Yeah. And I remember like from there, like we just like spitfired all these ideas, and then my internet cut out. Yeah. And I was like, oh no. I was like, is this like a sign that we shouldn't be starting a podcast? And like we're both like on the phone like, no, I'm just fixing the internet, I'll be back on in a minute.
And I'm pretty sure I was getting another glass of wine, so I was like, yeah, let's do this.
And that's kind of like how it started from there. And then like finally when trusty Wi-Fi jumped back in, we were on a Zoom call for 2 hours, brainstorming names, brainstorming ideas. And yeah, like that, in that 2 hours, we registered our business name. We like talked color palettes, we talked branding, we booked our podcast manager meeting to just like see if this idea was something. And we've kind of hit the ground running from there. And here we are on a Sunday recording the podcast.
Recording the podcast after 2.5 hours of tech difficulties, but we're here, and that's what matters. And I think the beautiful thing about that meeting as well, and I know we've spoken about it a lot, but in business, I'm always a person that is like, let's just do it. There is literally nothing to lose. So I am not the researcher. I'm not the like nitty gritty details person. Yeah. I didn't even think about registering a business name because I was like, sure, we get on social media and then we record it, and then Hayleigh's like, we also need a business name. I'm like, yeah, that's probably a good idea.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, let's just do this. And yeah, I think that's why we complement each other really well as well, which, yeah, has just also been a nice, not surprise, because, like, obviously we get along really well. But yeah, it's been really nice to be like, we bring out the sides of each other that, you know, I at least am lacking a lot of.
Not a lot of, nah.
Fair
Yeah,
enough.
it's definitely paired itself really well. I definitely agree with you that, like, my strengths are your weaknesses and your weaknesses are my strengths. No, I said that the same way twice.
No, you said it the right
Did
way.
I?
Please keep that in, Cass.
We complement each other's skill sets. Let's leave it at that. But yeah, it's very lucky because I've started a podcast on my vision board for probably a year and a half. So getting to tell you and you're like, let's do it. I'm like, oh, I'm scared, but yes, let's do it. So it's been really good.
And why not?
Right. Why the hell not? Here we are.
And I think, yeah, that's probably a pretty good sort of summary of both of our businesses and what led us to start the podcast, because yeah, we've been preparing this for a
couple weeks, a month. Yeah.
Yeah, I think over a month, because I always remember when we went first live on social media. But yeah, so we've been doing this for about a month, and yeah, we're finally getting episodes out into the open, which is so exciting.
Yes.
And yeah, I think I am just so glad that we have taken a leap, and we're here for all of the listeners as well. Like, all of you guys are actually, I mean, if you've made it this far, first off, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
You are the real MVPs here. But I'm so excited to see where this goes, and also to create this community for all small business owners to feel a little bit less alone.
Yes. Yeah, just to echo what you've just said, that's exactly why we started this podcast, is to speak to other business owners just like you and me. Like, we felt alone. We needed a community. We needed to feel like we weren't alone. It's just like, we're allowed to whinge about our businesses. We're super freaking grateful, like so grateful to be business owners. But yeah, sometimes you want to whinge. Sometimes you want to know that you're not alone. And like, we still have to come across quite professional to an extent, or, you know, to as much as you want to. But, you know, we're not necessarily going to get on our business Instagrams and be like, I've had the shittest day. I've been crying all day. Like, yes and no, it's good and bad. But like, yeah, that's what Girls Gotta Work is for, is so we can have that cry. We can have that whinge. We can talk shit about our businesses, but also celebrate the wins, because sometimes it's hard to, because we don't want other people to feel bad that they're not having the same wins.
Exactly. I mean, I'm super grateful we're both here and that you guys are here to join us on this wild journey, hopefully with less tech issues in future episodes. Also for us, we hope this comes through okay. And if it doesn't, we promise we'll get better.
Yeah. Next episode will be amazing. So
yes, just keep your, I was going to say ears peeled. That's not how that works. Keep your eyes out. Eyes peeled. Okay.
It's getting worse.
It's getting worse. We're descending into madness now. So I think that's a wrap.
I think that's a great place to
finish that up. All right, so that is a wrap from us. I think it's well and truly time for it to be a wrap from us. So as always, we've loved being in your ears, sharing the highs and lows of business ownership with a dash of chaos thrown in for good measure.
And if you want to keep the party going, come join us on Instagram and TikTok at Girls Gotta Work Podcast. And don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Until next time.
Bye!